Welcome to Wisdom Trek with Gramps. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, and we are on day 2707 of our trek. The purpose of Wisdom Trek is to create a legacy of wisdom, to seek out discernment and insights, and to boldly grow where few have chosen to grow before. In today's Wisdom Nugget, it's titled, A Thirst for Your Presence, the Pilgrim's Joyful Journey, and it's a trek through Psalm 84, verses 1 through 12. Today we begin a new and deeply moving journey, a beautiful pilgrimage through Psalm 84 in the New Living Translation, encompassing the entirety of all verses, 1 through 12. Psalm 84 is one of the most beloved psalms in the Psalter. It's attributed to the Korahites, a family of Levites who were gatekeepers and musicians in the temple. It is a song of pilgrimage, a song of ascent, meant to be sung by those making their way up to Jerusalem for one of the three major annual festivals, which are Passover, Pentecost, and the Feast of Tabernacles. The psalm is a beautiful and welcoming contrast to the communal lament that we've recently explored. After the national despair of Psalm 79, the urgent pleas for restoration in Psalm 80, Psalm 84 bursts forth with a joyous and profound yearning for God's presence. It shifts our focus from a desolation of the city to the spiritual longing of the soul, reminding us that even in times of national turmoil, the faithful hearts find its ultimate desire in God Himself and in joy of drawing near to Him. The psalm is a timeless ode to the incomparable value of God's dwelling place and the blessings that flow from His presence. So let's join the psalmist on our pilgrimage, feeling the heart of the traveler yearning for home, a home found only in the presence of God. And its first section is the soul's deep thirst for God, and it's verses 1 through 4. How lovely is your tabernacle, O Lord of heaven's armies! My soul longs, yes, it faints, with longing for your courts. My heart and body cry out for the living God. Even the sparrow finds a home, and the swallow builds its nest and raises her young at the place near your altar, O Lord of heaven's armies, my King and my God. What joy for those who live in your house, always singing your praises. Then we have an interlude. The psalm begins with an explanation of pure admiration for God's dwelling place. How lovely is your tabernacle, O Lord of heaven's armies! Tabernacle here refers to God's sanctuary, the temple in Jerusalem. Lovely, the Hebrew word yadid, implies something dear, beloved, and full of affection. The psalmist is expressing deep, heartfelt love for the physical space, not the building itself, but what it represents, the tangible presence of God. The title, Lord of Heaven's Armies, Yahweh Sabaoth, used 3 times in this psalm, is significant. It reminds us that this beloved dwelling is home to the powerful, sovereign, and majestic God who commands all the celestial host. This longing for God's presence is not merely a passing thought, it is a profound physical ache. My soul longs, yes, faints with longing for your courts. My heart and body cry out for the living God. Now the word long here is the Hebrew word kasaf, expresses an intense desire, a profound yearning. Faints with longing, kalat, is a powerful visceral image of the body and soul that are physically exhausted from their spiritual desire. This is a desire so strong that it affects his physical being, the heart and body, and are not just thinking about God, but they are crying out for Him, a unified expression for the entire being's deep thirst for the living God. It's a profound contrast to the dead or impotent gods of the surrounding pagan nations. His longing is for the one true, active, living God. The psalmist uses a beautiful and poignant illustration to express the envy of even the smallest creatures. Even the sparrows find home, and the swallows build their nest, and raises her young at the place near your altar, O Lord of heaven's armies, my King and my God. The sparrow, Hebrew word sispor, and swallow, dor, are humble, common birds. Yet the psalmist observes even the smallest insignificant creatures have the privilege of finding permanent, safe home near your altar. They can build nests and raise their young in the very presence of God, a stability and proximity the psalmist, in the physical presence, desperately craves. He sees their simple privilege as a magnificent blessing. His plea to God becomes even more intimate here, calling Him my God and my King, emphasizing the personal and covenantal relationship with the glorious, powerful God. This intense longing leads to a beautiful conclusion in the section. What joy for those who can live in your house, always singing your praises. The psalmist is not only longing for God's presence, but he is celebrating the happiness of those who experience it daily. He sees their joy and their continuous praise as the natural, inevitable response to a dwelling in God's presence. This gives us a window into the core of the psalmist's desires, not just to be in a place, but to be in a place where they can perpetually live in joy and worship. The interlude gives us a moment to reflect on this deep spiritual yearning and the profound blessing of God's presence. The next section is called The Blessed Path of the Pilgrim, and this covers verses 5 through 8. What joy for those whose strength is in you, who have set their minds on the pilgrimage to Jerusalem. When they walk through the valley of weeping, it will become a place of refreshing springs, and the autumn rains will clothe it with blessings. They will continue to grow stronger, and each of them will appear before the God of Jerusalem. O Lord, the God of heaven's armies, hear my prayer. Listen, O God of Jacob. Interlude. The psalm now broadens from the joy of those who dwell in the temple to the blessings of those who are on their way there. What joy for those whose strength is in you, who have set their minds on the pilgrimage to Jerusalem. This is the joy of the journey itself, a joy rooted not in the ease of the path, but in the source of their strength. Their strength is in you, meaning their power, their resilience, and their ability to endure comes from God alone. Their hearts are set on the pilgrimage to Jerusalem, a deliberate and intentional choice of seeking God's presence. The journey, for an ancient Israelite, could be arduous and long, but their joy comes from the destination and the divine strength that sustains them on their way. The journey itself is not without its trials, but God transforms those very trials into blessings. When he says, when they walk through the valley of weeping, it will become a place of refreshing springs. The autumn rains will clothe it with blessings. The Valley of Weeping, Emak Baka, could have been the literal valley on the way to Jerusalem, known for its difficulty or dryness. But more powerfully, it is a metaphor for the trials and sorrows of life itself. The psalmist says that those whose hearts are set on God, even in the deepest valleys of weeping, are then transformed. They will become a place of refreshing springs, whose tears are replaced by God's life-giving provision. The autumn rains, Hebrew word yoreh, which were vital for preparing the ground for sowing in the ancient Israel, will come and clothe it with their blessings, covering the once barren ground with abundance. This is a magnificent promise that God can turn the deepest sorrows and difficulties into the source of life, joy, and blessings, all on the road to his presence. The journey is not only transformative, but it is strengthening. They will continue to grow stronger, and each of them will appear before God in Jerusalem. The journey itself fortifies them. Grow stronger, Hebrew sha'il, implies an increasing vitality, power, and might. The process of seeking God strengthens us. The ultimate destination of this journey is not just a city, but a divine encounter. Each of them will appear before the God of Jerusalem. This is the goal of the pilgrimage, to stand in God's presence and act as sacred worship and communion. The psalmist, in this moment, makes a powerful plea on behalf of those pilgrims himself. O Lord, God of heaven's armies, hear my prayer. Listen, O God of Jacob. He again appeals to God with two of the most significant names, signifying both his sovereign power, the Lord of heaven's armies, and the personal covenantal relationship with his people, the God of Jacob. It is a plea that God would listen and be attentive to the prayers of all who are on the spiritual journey with him. The interlude provides a moment to reflect on the transformative power of life, focused on God's presence, turning sorrow into the springs of blessings. And then the last section is the ultimate blessings of his presence, verses 9 through 12. O God, look with favor on the king, our shield. Show favor to the one you have anointed. A single day in your courts is better than 1,000 anywhere else. I would rather be a gatekeeper in the house of my God than to live a good life in the homes of the wicked. For the Lord God is our sun and our shield. He gives us grace and glory. The Lord will withhold no good thing from those who do what is right. O Lord of heaven's armies, what joy for those who trust in you. The psalm now culminates with a final plea and a powerful declaration of God's supreme worth. The psalmist first prays for their anointed king. O God, look with favor upon the king, our shield. Show the favor to the one who you have anointed. This is a royal prayer, consistent with the tone of the royal psalms. He prays for God to bless the king, their shield, their national protector and defender, by anointed, Mishroth. He is referring to the one God who is set apart for rule, the king who is to be their human leader and protector. The prayer is for God's favor to rest on their earthly ruler. Then the psalmist makes a significant and bold declaration of God's incomparable value. A single day in your courts is better than 1,000 anywhere else. I would rather be a gatekeeper in the house of my God than to live a good life in the homes of the wicked. This is the theological climax of the psalm. He has wrestled with the prosperity of the wicked in Psalm 73, and here he offers a definitive, life-defining conclusion. The joy of being in God's presence for even a single day far outweighs the temporal pleasures of 1,000 days spent anywhere else. He would rather have the lowest, most menial role. As a gatekeeper, the role is likely held by the Korahite in God's house than to enjoy the most luxurious and the good life in the homes of the wicked. This is a complete reordering of his priorities. A powerful statement that God's presence is the ultimate good, surpassing all earthly wealth and comfort. The reason for this conviction is found in God's character. For the Lord God is our sun and our shield. He gives us grace and glory. The Lord will withhold no good thing from those who do what is right. This is the final, powerful summary of who God is. Sun, Shemesh, is a metaphor for light, life, warmth, and sustenance. Shield, Magen, is a metaphor for protection, defense, and security. God is both our source of life and goodness, and our ultimate protector from all harm. He is both our light and our refuge. And from this character, blessings flow. He gives us grace and glory. Grace, the Hebrew word shen, is God's undeserved favor and kindness. Glory, kabod, is God's honor, splendor, and the respect he gives to his people. And the promises are sure. The Lord will withhold no good thing from those who do what is right. This is the ultimate reassurance for the righteous who struggle. It is the promise that God's goodness, though it may not always manifest as earthly ease, is sure for those who live with integrity. The psalm concludes with a final, joyful exclamation that summarizes the entire journey. O Lord of heaven's armies, what joy for those who trust in you. This is the joyful fruit of a life of pilgrimage, the culmination of longing and reward of trust. The joy of God's presence is not just for those who have arrived, but for all who trust in you. Trusting God is the key that unlocks joy. Psalm 84 is a magnificent psalm that begins with a desperate yearning and ends with confident, joyful affirmation of God's ultimate worth. It reminds us that our true home is in His presence, that the journey to Him transforms our trials into blessings, and the ultimate joy is found in trusting God, who is our sun and our shield. So what profound wisdom can we draw from the psalm for our wisdom trek today? Well, firstly, the psalm validates the deep longing for God's presence. It gives us a sacred language to express a spiritual thirst that is as real as the physical one. It's okay to feel a fainting, longing heart for God. Secondly, it reminds us of our trials. Our valleys of weeping can be transformed by God's grace. When our hearts are set on Him, even our sorrows can become the source of blessings and new life. Thirdly, it provides us with the ultimate reordering of our priorities. God's presence for every single day is more valuable than any earthly pleasures or wealth. Our greatest aspiration should be to draw near to Him in any capacity. And finally, it gives us a powerful summary of God's character. He is our sun and our shield, the source of our life and the source of our protection, and to those who trust in Him, He withholds no good things. Let us, like the psalmist, set our hearts on our pilgrimage to God's presence, confident in His strength, joyful in our journey, and committed to life where God is the ultimate sun and our shield. And if you found this podcast insightful, please leave us a review and encourage your friends and family to join us. Then come along with us tomorrow for another day of Wisdom Trek, creating a legacy. Thank you so much for allowing me to be your guide, your mentor, and most importantly, I am your friend as I serve you through the Wisdom Trek podcast and journal. As we take this trek of life together, let us always live abundantly, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, and leave a living legacy each day. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, reminding you to keep moving forward, enjoy your journey, and create a great day every day. See you next time for more daily wisdom.